Our Flag Means Death closed out its second season with a wedding, a funeral, and a happy ending for everyone's favorite star-crossed sea captains. The Season 2 finale follows the Revenge crew as they fight back against the dastardly Prince Ricky Baines, Erroll Shand, reclaiming control of the Republic of Pirates. It also marks an emotional reunion for separated lovers Stede Bonnet, Rhys Darby, and Ed Blackbeard, Taika Waititi, who parted ways only to realize that they can't bear to say goodbye. But the victory against Baines is hard-won. Izzy Hands, Con O'Neill, is injured in the skirmish, and he ultimately succumbs to his wounds. A perpetual grouch, Izzy has evolved from tyrannical first mate to beloved crewmate, becoming a fan favorite in the process. He's also responsible for one of the season's most spectacular scenes, an emotional rendition of Vie En Rose, delivered in drag. His shipmates bury him on land, marking his grave with his prosthetic wooden horse leg. Despite Izzy's sacrifice, it's not all bad news for the Revenge crew. Stede and Ed get their long-awaited happy ending, settling down to running in together. Meanwhile, their friends take the Revenge and literally sail off into the sunset, seeking new adventures under the command of Captain Frenchie, Joel Fry. It's a tidy ending and a major departure from last year's cliffhanger, and as of the finale's airing, Max has yet to announce plans for a potential third season. Might Stede and Ed take to the seas again, or is the end for the Revenge? Here, series creator David Jenkins breaks down that bittersweet finale, from O'Neill's emotional death scene to the real history behind pirate weddings. David Jenkins. Yes, it feels like the logical end of Izzy's arc. It's heartbreaking to me because he's my favorite. They're all my favorite because they're all my kids, but Izzy is very near and dear to my heart. The season was kind of built around the idea of, what's the best journey we can give him? And what's the most interesting thing we can do with Con, who can do just about anything? How did Con react when you laid out Izzy's storyline this season? I told him in the middle of shooting because I didn't want him to find out at the table read, obviously. I also didn't want it to leak. He was lovely about it. I called him and said, let's get a bite to eat, and he said, I'll need cake. We had dinner, and I gave him a cuddle, and he took it pretty well. A lot of these characters have evolved over 2 seasons, but it seems like Izzy has gone through one of the biggest evolutions. He went from being so dismissive of the others to being a key part of the crew. What interested you most about his arc? You know, I didn't expect him to become kind of a father figure to Ed. I think we hit on that while we were breaking the final episode. He's in such a weird position. He's like a jilted lover, and then he's a middle manager who has to work for a terrible boss. He gets thrown away, and then he comes back. He really develops, and he becomes a part of this family. I think the biggest surprise was the extent that he was a mentor to Ed. They were both Blackbeard. They both made Blackbeard happen. What do you remember most about filming Izzy's death scene? That was one of the last things we shot. As we got closer and closer to it, I could see it weighing on Con. It's hard. This is something we both made together, and his character is gonna die. He was taking it really seriously. Then, when we were shooting, I made him a playlist. I asked if I could play him some music, and I did, and we sat there, and we watched Izzy die. I also wanted to ask about the scene where Ed and Stede reunite on the beach, fighting their way back to each other through hordes of soldiers. How did you want to approach that sequence? We have a wonderful fight and stunt coordinator, Jacob Tomuri, and director, Fernando Frias laid out how he wanted to shoot it with cinematographer, Mike Berlucci. With this show, we're basically making a 1-hour show on a half-hour budget and schedule, so we really have to pick our shots. But the location was just unreal. Everything in New Zealand just looks amazing. We were driving to a different location to scout the lake where Blackbeard tries to be a fisherman, and it was like, what is this? It was this giant black sand dune that seems to go on for miles. We were like, oh, we have to do something here. The episode ultimately ends with a happy ending for Ed and Stede. They're starting an end together on land as their friends sail off to new adventures. Walk me through why you wanted to give these two a happy ending. With this season starting so dark, I kind of wanted to reward them for the work that they've done and the character growth that they've had. I wanted to leave them in a place where they're really going to try and make this work. I don't think it's going to be easy for them, necessarily.